She was stopped at the entrance of the shooting range. A faded jacket, an old M1 Garand, slung over her shoulder like a museum relic. The receptionist barely glanced up. "VIP lanes don't allow the lost and confused," he said, eyes skating over her like she was a mistake, like she didn't belong. A spoiled kid nearby sneered. "They letting in janitors now." Harper didn't respond. She simply pulled out her worn VIP pass, walked forward, through the laughter, through the mockery, until the only sound left was the echo of 10 perfect shots. Silence, respect, fear. Hawthorne Elite Range was more than a shooting facility. It was a shrine, a cathedral of precision. Glass and steel gleamed beneath the California sun like a polished shell casing. Inside, the air smelled like gunpowder and money. Every lane was occupied by the powerful. Senators' kids, Olympic hopefuls, tech royalty, and career soldiers. The black marble floors reflected tactical boots and neon scoreboards. Gold-framed portraits of champions stared down with frozen, merciless eyes. Membership here wasn't purchased, it was inherited. A bloodline, not a barcode. The cost? More than most Americans made in a year. Outside, a velvet rope kept the uninvited at bay. And today Harper Lane had arrived on the wrong side of it. She looked out of place. Scuffed boots, a thrifted jacket, no makeup, no entourage. At 23, she was all edge and quiet fire. Her auburn braid caught the sun like smouldering embers. Hazel eyes locked forward, unreadable and unshaken. She didn't wear her father's name, Colonel Thomas Lane, legendary sniper like a myth, but it followed her anyway. He'd taught her to breathe with the rifle, to speak in silence. And when he died, she'd made him a promise, honor the legacy, one shot at a time. But to these people she was a nobody, a stain on their curated exclusivity. Derek, the receptionist with the tailored suit and plastic smile, blocked her again. "This isn't a place for ordinary people," he said, voice oozing with practiced condescension. "VIP lanes are for members, not whatever this is." He gestured to the rifle like it was offensive. Near the wall, Connor Blake, son of a hedge fund billionaire, leaned with a smug grin. "Guess we're letting in the janitorial staff now," he said, his laugh infectious among his pack of clones. Harper's fingers brushed the pass in her pocket. Not a gift, not a bribe. A worn card handed down from her father's commanding officer, earned in combat, stamped in blood. She held it out, voice level. "I'm a guest." The scanner beeped green. Derek stepped aside, reluctant. "This is a mistake," he muttered. The crowd parted, not for respect, for spectacle. Phones lifted. Live streams blinked red. Captions scrolled. "Welfare shooter." "Where'd she get that gun, eBay?" "Maintenance cosplay at the VIP lanes." Digital crosshairs locked on her. But Harper didn't flinch. She just stepped into her lane, loaded the rifle, and made 10 shots count. Perfect. Unshakable. Undeniable. And in that silence that followed, no one dared to laugh again. Vanessa Cole stood, her voice rising just enough for the live stream mic to catch. "Look at her, thinking she can shoot with us," she sneered, gesturing at Harper's faded jacket. "This is Hawthorne, not a salvage yard." Laughter erupted. A weapon, sharp and cruel. The comments streamed in like bullets. "Kick her out." "Fraud." "Bet she stole that pass from the trash." Harper didn't flinch. Her hands remained steady, eyes locked forward. But on the screen her mother's face flickered, pale and pained, the weight of every insult carved across her expression. The crowd's rage grew, not against Harper, but against the vicious spectacle. They watched, live and horrified, as coordinated cruelty unfolded in real time. Inside, the range was a cathedral of competition. 50-meter lanes stretched beneath a high vaulted ceiling. Digital screens tracked every shot with surgical precision. The hum of ventilation melded with the rhythmic crack of gunfire. Members reclined in leather chairs, sipping overpriced lattes. Rifles gleamed, chrome, titanium, carbon fiber, each a personal masterpiece. Harper's jacket drew eyes like a flaw in fine glass, a walking contradiction. Tyler Reed, lounging nearby, flicked his designer sunglasses up. His $12,000 rifle rested beside him like a trophy. "Even the cleaning staff gets a lane now," he snorted, loud enough to echo. His circle of trust fund heirs snickered, eyes slicing across Harper's worn jeans. "What's she gonna do? Polish the targets," one of them sneered, tossing a spent casing at her boots. Harper stepped over it. No reaction. No retaliation. Only the quiet fire of someone who refused to be broken. Professor Laura Vance approached, polished, poised, dangerous in her elegance. Her tailored blazer hugged her frame, diamond studs winked beneath perfect hair. She stood beside Harper, lips pursed in theatrical concern. "This is highly irregular," she said, projecting for the audience. "Hawthorne is a facility for trained professionals, not charity cases with antique weapons." Her gaze dropped to Harper's rifle, an heirloom, not a toy, a piece of history, not decor. "Your presence undermines our standards," she added, her voice honeyed with disdain. "Perhaps a community range would suit you better." Murmurs of approval swept the lounge. Applause, polite but pointed. Elitism dressed in civility, designed to isolate and wound. "Leave now," Vance finished, "and we'll forget this embarrassment ever happened." Harper didn't move. She adjusted her rifle, her braids swaying gently behind her. Her hazel eyes flickered, just once with something deeper. Resolve. On the stream, her mother's hands clenched. The betrayal of authority cut deeper than the mockery of strangers. The room tensed, their judgment aflame. The audience's fury simmered, directed now at the smug cruelty, the orchestrated humiliation. Vanessa Cole, golden girl of the range, adjusted her scope. Blonde hair cascading in picture-perfect waves, sniper optics worth more than a car. She tilted her head, expression curled in superiority. "This isn't a low-budget war movie, sweetie," she said, voice crisp and cutting. "This is training, for people who belong." The live stream crackled with activity. Comments surged. "Who is she? Get her out. This is embarrassing." Nearby, Colonel Raymond Pierce, grizzled, gruff, the Rangers' head coach, watched it unfold. A chest full of medals did nothing to soften the sneer in his voice. "Are you sure you even know which end of the rifle to hold?" he barked, his contempt undisguised. Harper met his stare, unblinking, unapologetic. "I'll figure it out," she said, softly, simply. A promise. Phones tilted upward, cameras rolling, poised to capture her failure, to upload her humiliation. And then he appeared. Ethan Caldwell. The golden boy, dark curls, sculpted jaw, a face on every promo banner, tailored tactical gear that looked like it belonged on a runway. His rifle, a $60,000 masterpiece, gleamed like a beast coiled in chrome. He'd just fired. 9.9, 9.8, 9.7. His name lit up the board to wild applause. Then he turned, saw Harper, and smiled, but not kindly. His grin was a weapon. "If you beat me, I'll leave. No questions." Ethan's voice was smooth, mocking, crafted for the live stream. "But if I win, you're gone, janitor." The crowd exploded in laughter, a wave of cruelty. Ethan leaned in, his breath warm. "No pressure, sweetheart." Harper didn't blink. She nodded once. Her silence spoke louder than all their jeers. The livestream audience surged, furious, electric with Harper. They didn't just want her to win. They needed her to. Lane 8. Harper stepped into place. Connor Blake swaggered over, his designer tracksuit flashing like a siren. "That rifle's a fossil," he said, loud enough for the mics. Bet it falls apart before she fires. He flicked a coffee stirrer at her boots, grinning. Pick it up, maintenance girl. Laughter rolled through the lounge. Phones were already up, captions forming like tombstones. Hatrang's trash. Janitor with a gun, Vanessa adjusted her $6,000 optics, her voice cutting through the noise. You're embarrassing yourself, hun. Go home before you shoot your foot off. Coach Pierce approached, clipboard in hand like a judge's gavel. This is an elite facility, he said, patronizing and firm. We don't have time for amateurs carrying antiques. Harper said nothing. She loaded her rifle with the precision of ritual, her face unreadable. Back home in a hospital bed, her mother watched the live stream, each insult a blade. On the ranger's social feed, the comments came like gunfire. Scrapyard shooter. Fake. Bought that pass on eBay. Tyler Reed shouted from the lounge. Why is she even here? This is a range, not a soup kitchen. The crowd clapped in cruel agreement. Another girl, Mia Hull, rich and spiteful, tossed a crumpled scorecard at Harper's boots. Clean that up, janitor, she said with a laugh. Harper didn't move. Her braids swayed as she checked her sights, her hazel eyes fixed on the 50-meter target. The crowd's rage burned like fuel. The mob's cruelty, a fire waiting for a spark. A retired general leaned toward Coach Pierce, not bothering to whisper. This is what happens when you let scholarships in, he scoffed. No poise, no skill. Phones flashed. Every angle captured her stillness. Vanessa raised her scope, sneering. You're a walking embarrassment, she spat. Leave before you humiliate all of us. Connor chimed in. Bet she's never even fired a gun. Probably stole that pass. The laughter hit like hail. Harper's hand brushed the side of her rifle, a tremor, barely noticeable. But her face remained still, serene, unshaken. Ethan took the line first, every move fluid. His custom rifle, an extension of his ego. Shot 1, 10th shot 2, 9.9. Shot 3, 10th shot 4, patavde. A perfect group, tight as a knot. The crowd roared. Cheers filled the space. Ethan smirked, locking eyes with Harper. Good luck, thrift store. The live stream erupted. She's done. No way she tops that. Harper stepped forward, her M1 Garand steady in her hands, aged but not broken. The crowd went quiet, phones raised, waiting for her to fail. She exhaled. Everything else fell away, only the target, only the shot. Shot 1, 10. A soft chime echoed. Lucky shot, Tyler muttered, crossing his arms. Shot 2, 10. The ping came again, sharper this time. Vanessa's optics slipped. Her smirk faltered. Shot 3, 10. The ranger's rare 3-shot melody rang out, a digital chorus reserved for near perfection. The lounge froze. Beginner's luck, Connor whispered, voice cracking. Shot 4, 10. The melody again. Coach Pierce's clipboard quivered in his grip. Shot 5, 10. A headset hit the floor. An athlete dropped it in disbelief. Shot 6, 10. Silence now. Sacred. Still. Every eye locked on her. Her faded jacket no longer mocked, now luminous under the lights. Ethan's grin was gone. His jaw clenched, his eyes sharp, narrowing. The live stream chat blew up. Who is she? Is this real? Harper adjusted her grip, deliberate, sacred. The ritual of excellence. Shot 7, 10. The melody became a hymn. Tyler's face paled. Shot 8, 10. Vanessa ripped off her scope, her hands trembling. Shot 9, 10. The room held its breath. Phones lowered. The mockery gone, drowned beneath awe. Shot 10. The bullet split the air. Center. Perfect. Overlapping her first shot, one clean hole. The board flashed red and gold. 100. Facility record broken. The ranger's sound system chimed one final time. A triumphant, soaring fanfare. Harper lowered her rifle, her breath steady, her hazel eyes sweeping the room. The crowd erupted, not with scorn, with reverence. Her triumph wasn't just a victory, it was a reckoning, a fire that burned their doubt to ash. Harper stood calm, utterly still. Then her voice sliced through the silence. Software steady, unshakable. "My father taught me to shoot when I was 6, she said, each word a quiet blade. He was the top sniper in his unit, while some of you were still figuring out how to double-click a mouse." The room stilled, heads bowed. The laughter, the jeers, they vanished like smoke. Coach Pierce rose from his chair. The grizzled ex-Marine's eyes gleamed with something rare in him. Respect. He began to clap. Slow, deliberate, each clap echoing like a verdict. One by one, others joined him, applause swelling, not as praise, but as reckoning. Ethan stood frozen. His mouth twitched, words caught in his throat. Harper smiled, just a flicker. But it was enough. It unravelled him. Ethan Caldwell, once the golden boy, stood stripped of pretense, his cocky grin gone, replaced by a flush of shame. On the board behind them, 100 out of 100 glowed like a sun. I was an idiot, he said, voice cracking just loud enough for the live stream to catch. You're not just better. You're untouchable. The crowd's silence was heavy now, thick with regret. Their cruelty, a bruise they all shared. Ethan's eyes softened, no longer mocking but searching. He looked at Harper not with arrogance but awe. Her faded jacket, once ridiculed, now gleamed like a badge of honor. The live stream comments flipped like a switch. He's done. She's a queen. Harper legend. Coach Pierce nodded, his voice booming like thunder. Mr. Caldwell, your scores are no longer the standard. Step aside. Ethan's shoulders sagged, but his gaze lingered on her. Her smile, quiet, radiant, ignited something in him he hadn't expected. The crowd erupted, not just in celebration, in catharsis. They had witnessed a fall and a rise that lit the whole range. Ethan stepped closer, voice low, reverent. I was wrong, he said, meeting her eyes. You're incredible. Harper gave a small nod. Her smile stayed warm, faint but firm, like a match in the wind that refused to go out. The crowd watched, hushed, their silence now a tribute. Coach Pierce approached, his voice rough with emotion. That was the finest shooting I've seen in 40 years, he said. Your father's legacy lives in you. Harper's gaze softened. Mission complete. A promise kept. Then the Rangers director stepped forward. General Marcus Tate, his silver hair catching the LED lights, his presence commanding. Harp Lane has redefined excellence, he announced, his voice resonating across the digital feed. Her perfect score is now the official benchmark for Hawthorne. He turned to his staff. His eyes locked on those who had scorned her. Those who mocked her, Professor Vance, Mr. Reed, you face immediate suspension, pending review, he said. Our standard is skill, not status. Gasps rippled through the lounge. The guilty shrank beneath the weight of their own undoing. Arrogance crumbled. Then General Tate raised one hand. The main screen flickered. A digital plaque appeared, bold and brilliant. Facility record, Harper Lane, 100 out of 100. Legacy initiated. The crowd erupted, cheers now thunder, washing away every insult, every doubt. Harper stood at the center of it all, unmoved by noise, built from fire, undeniable. On the screen, Harper Lane, new record holder. Harper stood tall, her figure framed by the glowing board. Her smile wasn't loud, it was a quiet fire, steady and unshakable. Ethan caught it again, and it caught him. His heart stumbled, not from defeat, but from the gravity of her calm. The live stream erupted. Applause spilled across digital feeds, echoing with pride. Harper Lane surged to the top of trending lists, a name now synonymous with truth, grit, and skill. The audience, once cruel, now felt something unfamiliar: reverence. Harper's win didn't just break records, it cracked the foundation of the range's rigid hierarchy. Connor Blake slouched into the shadows of the lounge, his designer tracksuit no longer armor, just a costume. She ended him. Vanessa Cole packed her sniper gear. Her modeling contract suddenly felt like paper in a storm. Arrogance faded. Only silence remained. Tyler Reed sat motionless, his $12,000 rifle untouched, his entourage silent, eyes anywhere but on Harper. Even the retired general, the one who mocked her background, now stood red-faced, muttering an apology no one needed. The crowd didn't hear it. The applause drowned out regret. Mia Hall, once proud in her polished designer jacket, slipped out unnoticed. Shame hung heavier than her label name. The elite of the range, once invincible, were humbled, shattered by a girl in a faded jacket and an old rifle, a girl who needed no title, only accuracy. And Harper had delivered. Worldwide the myth began. 10 perfect shots. A storm in stillness. Harper Lane wasn't just trending, it was a movement. As the crowd began to thin, Ethan lingered. No longer the golden boy, no swagger, just quiet awe. He walked toward Harper, something raw in his step, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't deserve your time," he said. His eyes met hers. "But I'd be a fool not to try." He hesitated, then added, "You're not just a shooter, you're a force." The room quieted. The live stream caught the moment. "He's in love," someone typed. Thousands agreed. Harper looked at him, her hazel eyes clear and unblinking. Her smile deepened, soft but sure. "Coffee's a start," she said, her voice gentle, a bridge built in just 4 words. Around them, the staff paused. Their respect was no longer new. It was instinct. Harper Lane was no longer the outsider. She was the benchmark, the standard, the story. Ethan's heart beat faster. That smile, the same one that had undone him, was now the beginning of something else. Not just admiration, but something more dangerous. Hope. The live stream faded, the applause dimmed. But her legend, still ringing in every heart, 10 perfect shots, 1 unforgettable girl, a record, a reckoning, a rise, 10 perfect shots. The staff updated the digital leaderboard. Harper Lane now blazed across the top, a name once dismissed, now immortal. What had been a crowd of critics now stood silent, reverent, their phones lowered, their past mockery dissolved into shame. A girl young, anonymous, maybe 15, stepped forward from the shadows. Her voice shook. "I was wrong to laugh," she whispered, eyes fixed on Harper. "You're what this range should stand for." Heads nodded. One voice became many. Applause rose, not in frenzy, but with purpose. It was the sound of redemption. Harper smiled, soft, serene, but piercing. That smile found Ethan again. His heart skipped, not from love at first sight, but from admiration hard-earned. The live stream swelled with new voices. Harper inspires. Rewrite the standard. The narrative had changed, so had the audience. Even the retired general, once so smug, clapped with his head bowed. His pride had curdled into humility. The words he once flung at her were now dust in his throat. Harper didn't gloat. She simply stood, a girl in a faded jacket, quiet and unyielding. Not just the best on the range, the new soul of it. Where there had once been contempt, now lived clarity. Her victory was more than a scoreboard. It was a lighthouse, a warning shot to gatekeepers, a call to arms for the overlooked. The audience thundered her name, not out of obligation, but reverence. 1 month later, Ethan and Harper were inseparable. Their bond hadn't bloomed in comfort. It had been forged in fire. The golden boy of the elite learned to see the world through the scope of her struggle. Strength isn't inherited. It's earned. 3 months later, he proposed. The ring was simple, unpolished, perfect, like her. They married quietly, beneath the rafters of the same range where the world first saw her blaze. Above them hung the new plaque. Harper Lane, record holder, 100. The Hawthorne elite range was elite no longer.